This is Nick Baisley from Film Snobbery, and I'm here on the red carpet, last day of the FirstGlance Film Festival, and I'm here with Billy Hayes from Franky and the Ant. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. We finally got to meet in person here at FirstGlance.
Yeah.
We had, we were both we were familiar with each other on Facebook. We were chatting a little bit, and your film has been all over the festival circuit.
It's done really well so far. I've been really blessed for it to be in over 40 fests so far. So I can't complain.
Well, these guys who may or may not have seen it yet, back at home, tell them a little bit about what Franky and the Ant's about.
Well, what Franky and the Ant is I had a story for a feature-length script where what I did is I took the two villains in there, the two muscle, the guys that create havoc and get rid of problems, Franky and the Ant, and I extracted them from that story and then decided to give them the same sort of problems that our main characters in our feature had, which was a through line, a story of vengeance and betrayal. It went a little darker than the feature because we were the two villains, bad guys, but in the end, we ultimately, I think, had a fun little story that, maybe made a couple of people squeamish, but...
Remember that time when your mum walked in on you, caught you wanking off?
What?
You know how you can avoid that?
No.
Don't live with your fucking mum.
I'm leaving you, baby, just because you won't be true. I'm leaving you, baby, just because you won't be true.
Face the facts, my friend. The field's gonna be even worse.
Oh, you don't love me after all I've done for you.
I was going to say, do you feel that having a story that's filled with villains versus heroes is slightly more interesting because you may not necessarily know, like you want to root for them, but you don't, because there's always a hero that you want to root for, that they end up, but villains, you kind of feel weird about it sometimes. You go, I don't know if I should trust this guy or whatnot.
Right. Well, one of my favorite, of course, I mean, it should be pretty obvious, but one of my favorite all-time directors is Martin Scorsese. And the one thing that he does beautifully more than any other filmmaker is he takes a villain, he takes a bad guy, like you watch Casino, you watch Goodfellas. He takes a guy that's a horrible person and he humanizes him. And he makes you sympathize with him and he makes you feel for them because he gives him such human qualities that you can connect with. So actually one of the main purposes I wanted to do with this film once I started thinking of the concept is to take a guy like Franky, who is obviously, if you watch the film you realize he's not a stand-up guy. But he does have one thing that he values more than anything, and that's loyalty, and which a lot of people can now start to kind of relate, because everyone has been betrayed at some point in time. So what I wanted to do is to take everyone and have that common human feeling and emotion and connect them with this character, because everyone go, wow, I've been betrayed. Everyone you talk to is like, yeah, at some point in time I've been betrayed. So now they can connect with this guy and see how he deals with it. Obviously his occupation, what he does when you see the film, it's not a person you really want to go against and you want to betray, because the way that he deals with things is a very not a good way for most people to have to deal with. But I wanted to take him and humanize his character and have people connect with him. And in the end, ultimately, hopefully they feel a little sympathetic for him and go, wow, I can relate to this guy. I understand what he's feeling. Although he deals with things in a way most people would never deal with things,
How long did the production on this take?
Oh my God, dude! It took a long time.
Did you crowdfund it for this too, didn't you?
No.
No? I remember seeing something about this movie online. It just might be just you guys got great press. That's all it was. But no crowdfunding?
Yeah, no, I wish I would have. I ended up funding a lot with my own financing and credit cards and savings and things like that. But I just wanted to, I wanted to have control over how I did the film. And at the time, I really wasn't looking into crowdfunding. I said, I'm just going to put it out there. And, ran my own tab up, and hopefully luckily I didn't get divorced.
Now you're working it down.
Yeah, luckily I didn't get divorced in the middle of it, but since then, it's I've got there was an award not too long ago that would allow me a couple, $5,000 in post-production, so at least maybe a little bit's kind of coming back, but with a short it's like you really don't make your money back.
Yeah.
You're just like a very expensive resume.
Now, let me ask you about the festival circuit, because you've been in over 40 festivals. You're here at FirstGlance now. Obviously, you've had to submit to a lot of these. I'm sure that you've spent a couple bucks there.
Yeah.
But what's your criteria when you're submitting to a festival? Like, what's important to you as a filmmaker when choosing? I mean, because there's thousands of festivals worldwide, you know. So what's the thing that's important to you when you're looking through the list and going like, I want to go there?
Right. Well, at first, of course, you go and look. You know, every filmmaker, I think, says, okay, which ones are Academy Award qualifying? That's usually the first thing you do, because what you ultimately want to do is for someone to get an Academy Award qualifying film, get an award, and say, hey, maybe I'll get into that mix.
Right.
Maybe I'll be one of those rare people. But, you know, in the end, you have hundreds of thousands of people trying to do the same thing. So you have that as like your first criteria. But then one thing I noticed is that I started submitting to a lot of different festivals. And one thing I noticed is that this film, the way that it went, it was a little darker. It kind of catered a lot more to like certain, some sort of underground festivals, and certain festivals that might not show things that were like on the main circuit a lot of times, because it is a little dark. And I've noticed too, what was funny is one time I ran into this person at a festival, and they're like, "Oh, my girlfriend, she has this festival going on. You should submit to it." And I was like, "All right, cool. What's?" I went ahead and submitted to the link, and I was like, I didn't read much about it. And then later on, I went and read, and it was like, supporting peace through art and filmmaking. And I was like, "Oh no, dude, why did I do that? There's no way I'm getting it." No way I'm getting into that, because it's like so dark, and of course I didn't get accepted into that one. But
Of course not. No.
of course, no, it didn't work.
Not even a little.
No, they were just like, no, we'll just pass on this one. But I've been kind of surprised. Like, I didn't realize, though, like I got into like Shriek Fest and like some other horror themed festivals, which in the beginning I didn't think.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that we created a villain that was pretty dark, and a lot of people within that horror genre kind of connected with it. So then I was like, oh, I didn't even realize. Maybe I have a whole. So I started submitting.
Maybe I made a horror movie and didn't even realize it.
I know. So I started submitting to that, and I was like, oh, people really like the villain. So they started connecting, and I actually opened up a whole new venue, which I didn't even realize, you know, I was targeting. But no, I mean, well, I can't complain, because it's done really well. I've been in, like you were saying, 40-some festivals, and we won several awards. We got like a special jury prize and best short and best of the fest, and you know, a few things like that. So.
Now, I know you said you mentioned that you were looking at the Oscar, Academy Award qualifying festivals. If you were to kind of, have you been in several of them yet?
Well, the thing, there's like St. Louis International Film Festival.
Right.
I got accepted there, screened there. I went out actually for it.
Right.
It was such a huge festival.
It is.
Oh my God! I was like, oh, this is gonna be such. But there were so many different venues and so spread out and all over the place that it was so big that. You know, I mean, I don't want to talk bad about the festival. I mean, the festival was fantastic, but I felt like I almost got lost in it in a way sometimes. So what's nice about a festival like this is that it is it's a 3-day event. So when you say, oh, my film's Franky and the Ant, everyone already knows what film it is.
Right.
Because we've all looked through, we've all seen it, and they're very selective. So they have a few films that they pick instead of like like a massive amount of films. So it's kind of nicer sometimes on film festivals like this, where you go in and you're like, you mention your film and you're like, oh, I know which one. You're playing on Saturday. Yep. So in a way that's, it's really, and this venue here too is like phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, this is FirstGlance's first year at the Regal LA Live here,
Yeah.
downtown Los Angeles. It's a giant theater. I mean, I was over. I said, hey, you have this premiere cinema. I'm like, what's that all about? They're like, well, we're showing Captain America. And it's a 70-foot tall screen and 800 something seats. I'm like, I need to see this. They're like, here's your 3D glasses. Go. You need to see this.
Yeah.
Fantastic, phenomenal. I mean, it's weird. I've worked downtown and I never went here before, so really nice. And I can only imagine for a filmmaker, whether you're a short, filmmaker, web series, feature, whatever, it's got to be great to kind of see your film on a real good, system like this.
Oh no, it's fantastic, because that's the thing is you have a short film. You're not going to get into a major theater, of course. The only way you do that is through a film festival like this. So when you come, like the first night I came, I sat down, I sat close up. I'm like, oh, it's available seats. And when I looked, I was doing this, and I kind of hurt my neck recently. So doing that was all right. So when my screening came, I'm like, I'm gonna move a few seats back, because the screen is enormous. Yeah. And when it's like that, the sound is phenomenal. And like in this film too, there's certain parts in there where like if the sound is not right, and I've been in some venues where it's a smaller theater, maybe the sound isn't so great, and there's certain points where it's so the sound is so important that if the sound is not that great, you miss part of the whole feel of it. Because there's one point where the sound was something happens and it's like boom, and it's jarring. And if the sound is on, the sound is right, and you're in a venue that's right, then everyone jumps. But if you're there and it doesn't work, then you're like, you kind of missed the whole gag because the sound
wasn't there.
Yeah, but with like this, it's like a huge screen, great sound. It's a great venue, luckily, like with we had a similar situation with with Holly Shorts when we screened there. Like they had Chinese theater, which is another like great venue, big sound, big theater, and this theater too is the same thing. It's like another great huge venue with gorgeous sound, and it makes all the difference in the world. If you take the time in production, in pre-production, and post-production to do the sound and create it the way that it's supposed to.
It's the other half of the movie. Yeah. It really is.
Then you would get the payoff at a big venue. If you don't, it shows up even more on a venue like this. If you don't take the time for post-production and you skip that, then when you go into a venue like that, people are like, ooh, wow, this really is crappy sound because I can hear everything, and I realize it's crappy sound. So that's the cue right now, filmmakers. The most important thing, even more important than the cinematography of the shots, is sound. Do sound. Spend your money if you have to on sound.
See, coming from award-winning, multiple award-winning Billy Hayes from Franky and the Ant, are you gonna go for Oscar Gold on this?
Dude, if we can get there, I'll take it.
Fantastic. Well, I want to
get there. I'll take it. Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming by and chatting with us, and obviously screening here at First Glance. It sounds like it's had a great run, and will continue to do so. And we're glad that you could be a part of us.
Oh no, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, and thank you, First Glance.
Thank you.